If you're new here, I'm Aude, a writer and filmmaker. I have published novels and short stories over the years in French and English. Today, I'm going to try to follow Octavia Butler's writing routine. For starters, I am a big fan of Octavia Butler. She inspires a lot of my sci-fi work, and I've decided to follow her writing routine. In case you don't know, Octavia Butler was a Black American science fiction writer born in California in 1947, and she died in Washington in 2006. She has reached critical and commercial acclaim with her books such as The Parade of a Sower, Kindred, Bloodchild, and Wild Seed. She's also a recipient of multiple Nebula Awards, which are the most prestigious American awards for science fiction, and the MacArthur Fellowship, called the Genius Grant for American writers and American residents. Octavia Butler's books made me feel seen and understood, and increased the scope of the kind of stories I felt like I could tell as a writer. I use many resources to find out more about her work ethic, and one of them is a post on the Substack notes written by Jillian Hess. I also watched Octavia's interview with Charlie Rose. Octavia Butler was known for writing down her goals, even when they seemed impossible, a practice that is also known for some people as manifesting. She also had a strong work ethic, and she would write down on the many notebooks that she would write 5 pages a day, 5 days a week. For her, a novel should be no less than 400 pages. She believed that in order to write great novels, one had to write visually, publicize themselves, and strive for excellence. What she meant by publicize herself was that as writers, we always had to constantly promote our work and seize opportunities to get good print publicity. I think that she would approve of having a substack like mine and using social media to promote my work. Butler would also recommend taking a trip on completion of market work, i.e. work that aims to be sold or has already been sold, and beginning of rework. Another advice or rule she had was to attend an occasional writing conference. Writing conferences can be a lot and sometimes overwhelming, but they're a great way to network and connect with colleagues. I've attended a few of them, and it was always helpful for my career. So I decided to follow her advice and take a trip to a hotel and work on my novel there. And this is a room tour. I did choose a hotel that was very comfy, and the environment is something very important for me when it comes to writing. I am currently working on a sci-fi speculative fiction novel exploring the unraveling of a childhood friendship between 2 young Black women during one single day where an astronomical event appears. The novel explores the unraveling of that friendship, and it is set against a backdrop of the impact of religion, war-related family trauma, and the war patriarchy mold young Black women into losing parts of themselves, and it felt very apt to follow Butler's routine. I arrived at the hotel, and the next morning I woke up bright and early. I tried to wake up at 6 a.m. like Butler, who would routinely wake up very early, but I am not such an early riser. Butler used to work at a factory, and she would wake up at 4, maybe 5 sometimes to work on her writing. I've only ever had horrific 9 to 5 or 0-hour contract, but I've never worked at a factory. It's incredibly tough, and I commend her and everyone else for doing that. I eventually snoozed, and I woke up again at 8. I had tea and breakfast, which felt very luxurious. And then I started the day working out my writing goals and words to motivate myself. Like many Black women writers, for a long time, Butler, despite her talent, didn't feel encouraged or supported by the industry. Butler felt like very few people had her back, so she would write many notes on her notebook to improve her self-confidence, her worth, and remind herself of her goals. At some point, she considered herself a low seller that was passed over, her own words, that was overlooked in favor of writers that were not as talented as her. She refused to be lowballed and decided that she, more than anyone else, would set how much value her books had. She wrote down that she set a minimum amount for a book advance. She wouldn't sell any science fiction stories for less than $5,000. As a novelist, my first advance was less than $300, and I can greatly relate to the feeling of being looked down. I have decided, following Butler's advice, that my next book will sell for no less than a certain amount that I wrote down in my own notebook. Butler predicted a future success, and she wrote down her goals and what she would achieve. Some of her goals were to become a best-selling seller. I did the same and wrote it on my notebook as well. And after that, I had to start writing. I put my special writing playlist that helps me get in the mood where words flow very naturally. I felt confident and motivated because I wrote my goals and how I would succeed and what I would accept. I briefly outlined my novel. So I usually either handwrite or write down a brief outline on Google Docs or Microsoft Word or on my notebook before writing a novel. There were some parts that I still hadn't figured in the outline, but I put it aside. I began to just write down the first chapter. The words were gliding. I stopped a couple of times, as I do, to make sure I was using the right words and check for synonyms, as I often do because I hate using the same words twice, especially on the same page. This is a rule that I have. After a couple of hours, I started feeling antsy and distracted, which is a clear sign that I need to move my body and I need a break. So I decided to explore the hotel, and then I broke for lunch. I was starving, so I went and I got some afternoon tea. And then after that, I decided to walk around the hotel. I needed some inspiration in some way or the other, and usually being in nature really helps me when it comes to that. Then, because the weather was decent, I decided to read outside and to keep writing. The first chapter I'm writing is set at a very specific time, so I had to make sure everything was coherent. For example, let's say my chapter was set at 1 p.m. Therefore, I can't really write down that the main character is going to bed after doing the nighttime routine, unless I somehow can explain it. So I wrote something that was fairly decent. With this novel, I'm writing in a different way. I'm trying to write in a more adult way, unlike the YA stories I've written in the past. And I'm also trying to read more adult books, obviously, but I'm also trying to write in a way that is more complex, that is more literary, if it makes sense, in a way that's very strong. I'm trying to write better. So by the end of the day, I had written 3 pages, which was decent. I finished writing around 7 p.m. as I usually do. I had dinner in my room and I watched a TV show, and then I packed my stuff because I was going home the next day. So, what do I think of Octavia Butler's writing routine? I would say that this routine is a tough one because you have to wake up very early, you have to remove any kind of distractions, and you have to be consistent. It's a routine that works best if you are single or if you don't have any children, and also if you work from home, or if you also can take time from work, or if you have a tough job, you have to really wake up early to do that. It did help that I was in a hotel in a remote place, so I could use all my time to write. But one thing I have to say is that Butler's power of manifesting, if you believe in it, is absolutely striking. Her background and her early life had not been easy, but she really turned her words into reality. I've been a writer almost all of my life. Like her, I started young and had been overlooked. But writing down my goals, even if they feel delusional, even if they feel impossible, even if I feel like it's never gonna happen, made me feel more hopeful and helped me get my power back as a person and as a writer. So I would absolutely recommend this routine, especially if you're a Black person and a Black non-binary person. I think that if you are overlooked by the literary industry, writing down your goals, your dreams, and believing in them will help you get the confidence you need to succeed. And even if you don't, it will bring you closer to your dreams. So best of luck. If you're using Octavia Butler's routine, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Like the video and subscribe to my channel for more writing and filmmaking related videos. If you want to support my small business and my work, look at my website as well as my books available in most online stores. Thanks.